So here's the packaging. We've got the card, right? The unit comes inside the little box. And then we've got the unit. Okay. Right here is the microcontroller, speaker, the opening in order to do the connection, and the battery bay, where it has the power button. We're going to turn it on. And we can hear it. So now we're going to go into the packaging. And we got the Beskar darts. We got the activation switch. And we got the LED arrays. And the first thing we're going to do is just go ahead and grab the magnet and the activation switch. And we're going to install this in the front right there. And we'll go ahead and power the unit on. There we go. Power the unit on. And then we can test the unit. And just checking to make sure that this moves and 100% pushes out. And that there's no binding. It's not slow. Everything moves really good. Alright. Well, we'll go ahead and plug in the LED arrays. And to get to the LED arrays, we're going to take the cover here off. And then we're going to take this cover. Going to pull in that. And we'll bring out the plug here. Now this cover, when it goes back in, has a door that goes on the power button. And that holds that power button against that side there, so it can be turned on and off. The speaker does just kind of sit in the cavity there, so it's okay if it moves around. And let's go ahead and test. Now with that on, we can plug in the LEDs. It's just a little 3-pin JST connector. And we're going to use our tweezers as our holder. So now we've got, these are all set up. We can see that they're working. And we've got light on all three. So if we have light on this end one, then we'll have light on the other two as well. So the next thing that we want to do, we want to turn off the firing mode. So right now you see how it keeps turning off the lights every time we tilt. During the install, it's easier if that does not turned on. So we're going to turn on the safety feature. To do that, we're just going to hold the magnet on the reed switch and it'll go into the config menu. And the first thing it showed right there was the battery level. So first default is this one has got a full battery. So we're going to go over 1, and that one, it says 2 is the number of items. Option 3 has 3 red, which is the middle one. Option 4 has 4 red. Option 5 has 5 red. So you can see what menu option you're on by the number of colored dots. So option 2 is the firing mode. Blue is for tilt, green is for shake, red is for off. So we're going to tilt up to select. And now we're in what's called safety mode. We're going to tilt down to exit out of the config menu, and now we can tilt it and the lights will stay on. So I can turn it on, turn it off, arm and disarm it. We're going to first start by gluing the front nozzle mount to right here. Now on this unit you can see that there's a little bit of a blockage right there and it doesn't sit flush. That could be okay. The main thing that you want to make sure of is that, this is the most important, is that this middle aligns with that hole. So when this is being put in, because that's going to basically determine how your LED lights are going to sit in the middle here. So big thing here is just to make sure that the middle of this right there, that centers well with the center in the nozzle here. The center hole here matches that cutout right there. So we're just going to set that up in here like that. Make sure it's nice and lined up. And I'm going to trim the tip of this just so it sits a little bit more flush forward. So we'll just take the top tip off. And now it sits nice and flush up in the V. Now we're going to go and get some of our glue. And not too much. And spread it around. You want the maximum bondage on this surface. Now it's very thin. I'm not putting a lot. I just use the nozzle here to spread it. Careful not to glue it to yourself. And we're going to hold it in place. There we go. Again, just making sure that the center is aligned there. And we'll take the unit and we'll just slide it into place. Right there, it clicks in, you can hear it, and now that gives us a positioning for the rear. Now with the rear in position, I'm going to just mark off where the rear mount sits, and to get this off, pushing it forward doesn't necessarily work. You have to pull from the front and then it snaps right off. Let's do that one more time. We're going to slide it in, it clicks into place, you want it off, you have to basically pull and push. I do a little bit of scuffing. Whoop. We're going to scuff it up just like we did the other one. And all this is really doing is giving the glue more hairs to grab onto. I'm going to scuff this one here. There we go. Nice and uniformly scuffed. I'm going to throw in a little bit of glue on there now. Not a lot. Just a little dab. Alright, now we can get them separated out into their parts. We got one long one, 4 medium, and 3 and 7 short. So we're just going to pull the long ones out. There we go. We're going to pull one of each. And these are going to be our sizers. So these are going to be, put these off to the side. And we're going to use these to size the nozzle to the mount point. So put this one into, here we go. So I'm going to set it into the LEDs. I'm going to probably pick the middle hole. That's usually a pretty good one to go with. We want to set it all the way down. There we go. Whoop, I got those backwards. This is actually the front one. There we go, and this is the middle one. Alright, so now we got 3 of them in there. Let's see. So the way that these LED housings hook up is that the wires go into the hook, and there's a little protective shell that shows on both sides. So you got a little shell here. The wire goes in the middle of those. And so you're going to put that in the hook like that. See, it's in the hook. And then the outer one will go into the hook just like that. Right there. Right there. Now this outer one has a different connection method. That's because it has a little bit more friction, it's doing a little bit more work. And so this one gets a little bit stronger. So the way this one goes on is there's a hook under here. We're going to come up at an angle, and then it clips right on. So let me show that from the below. So it comes into the hook, and then right there. So it tilts forward and then comes out. Now when this has all of its fiber optics lined up in it, it does not tilt forward anymore. And so that creates a very strong bond in order to hold it into place. This also means that getting it out later is going to be a little bit challenging, and you just got to make sure you're careful about the angle in which you pull this out. So we'll show that here in just a minute. Each row, we're going to go ahead and put them in the LED array, the middle one, the outer one, sorry, the middle one, center one, middle one, and then I'm going to feed these into the nozzle. Oh, make sure we get them in the right holes, which I got a little bit crooked. Try that again. One more try. Here you go. I'm going to go on the outer side for each one. So feed that in the middle, feed that in the outer part, and this one in the outer. And then we're going to push them all the way through. So that's where it is all the way forward. Now we don't need to trim to there, but that's just kind of showing how much excess we have if we were to go all the way to the very front. Then we're going to go ahead and put this on the mount. Oop. Now with it right here, what I want to do is attach the LEDs to the hooks. So I'm going to go ahead and plug the LEDs in actually. This way we can see them when they turn on. I'm going to move that out of the way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of position this over these wires. So it seems to work the easiest for getting those in is just to push the wires through to the hook
There we go. And then gently pull them through once they're lined up. And we can reach down and pull from the fiber optics to help seat it a little bit better. But once they're hooked, go ahead and set it in the mount. Plug it in.
It won't fire, and this will let me sit here and mess with this and figure out how long to trim this down to. So we actually want to size this to the point we want it at when it's armed. So this is a good starting point. What we've got under here is it's in, the tip is lit, so we know that we're connected, and we know that now it's fully extended. If I do this, it goes back, or disarms, and we can see how short that will be. So we have this much excess to take out. We want this tip to end up about here. So we have to take off about that much excess from the front of this. So I'm going to do this in little bits, and we're going to just use a measure. If I want it to go to here, right, I'm going to bring it to the end of the button right there. So that's where I want to trim first. So I'm just going to use this one. I'm going to measure using my finger, very simple, right? That gives me the about right there is how much I want to take off. So I'm going to keep that in my hand. I'll pull that out. I'll flip it around. Put them together. So now, as my long side, I'm going to go ahead and trim off about that much. The tip to end, I want it to end about there. Bring it up a little bit, just a bit there. So I have it right like that. Bring it to approximately there. So now I've got those two. I'm just going to confirm our sizes. We can go ahead and trim the rest of them to that same size. Carefully take that off. So this is our outer row, our inner row, and the center. So we'll just take this one as our marker. And then trim these. Always going from the tip. And it's better to go a little bit long
for is just that final fitment. All the tips disappear, and when they come out, they should rest right about at the end of the thing. Looks pretty good. Alright, let's glue them down and we'll be done. Get some regular light so I can see the glue going in. What I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue on the fiber optic itself. And that will go down and seat. I should pull these apart so I don't end up gluing them together. Alright, find all of our middle row items. Okay, these all look pretty good, so I'm just going to go ahead and lock these in. It didn't take a lot. I mean, I'm just putting a tiny little dab. You'll notice that as soon as I do this, it kind of redirects the light. Looks like it dims it, but I think it's just encasing the bottom, so we get more light capture. Show just a little bit of tiny glue at the base of these. Should be enough to hold them in place. And the same thing here. Just make sure that each one lights up all the way. And to get that light, sometimes you do have to cut a little, trim the end just at an angle, and then point that angle at the actual LED. Oh yeah, those are good. There you go. Chamfer this one just a teeny bit. Actually, before we chamfer one, let's just swap out the one next to it. Nope. this one. There we go. Again, just put a tiny little chamfer. Just a very small one. It should be enough. There we go. Most important part about doing it at this point is don't overcut, because then you'll mess up your sizing and your positioning of the tip. All I'm trying to do is just cut at a very slight angle, and that will now allow the tip, there we go, to seat up and really glow. You can see the difference there versus the one. There we go. See, now you can see kind of the difference. If I were to turn this one, let me show the difference, right? Like, there we go, like that versus that. That, which has a little bit of a blue tip, but until you get it fully seated there, you won't get the brightest tip. So you just want to find the spot of the brightest point, and then lock it in. Ooh, that was way too much glue on that one. Let's utilize that glue for the last one here. Alright, these are all glued. Try another fitment. It's kind of our finished unit right here. Good morning. Hi. Finally, we'll tuck this wire, give it a little bit of loop so that as those move forward, it has some play. We'll tuck that wire off to the side. And when we put that in, we want to hook the bottom, push in the tab, push in the side tabs. Close it up. It's all set. Just verify there's no binding, no issues with movement. If all that is good and you're happy, we'll do the last piece. And that, ladies and gentlemen, as they say, is that.